Hi everyone, today's build video is my build for the Diecast Mafia Cartoon Custom Challenge. For this I'm going to be using this Hot Wheels IonMotors Thresher, or Tony's car as it's also known. This is from the Fast and Furious Spy Racers TV show, which I was unaware of until I picked up this casting. Onto the build, the first thing I do after disassembling the casting is dunk the base plate into a jar of bleach to dechrome it, and I'll fish this out off camera and wash it off so it's safe to handle. Next I want to remove this hood scoop so I could attach a nice big blown engine, as well as remove the rear window for a future rear weapon. So for this I just do it off camera with my jeweler saw. The engine piece is from Anvil Industry. This is the first time I've used any of their parts, and I've got to say they're quite good. For the rear weapon, I decided to use a quad rocket pod from the Autokill's Double Trouble sprue. For the front mounted weapon, I used a minigun from the same sprue. Now normally I'd stick the gun to the casting, but I don't want the paint to build up around the gun, especially since I'm going to be doing a custom paint job for this one. So instead I'm going to use this peg system by cutting up some styrene rod and mounting the gun to that instead. For the wheels, I used some of the Chemcell Design wheels that I have left. Sadly, Chemcell Designs is shut down back in September, so I can't really give you the specifics of the wheels and that because I've long since forgot and the website's no longer up. I have heard rumour that they're putting the designs up, so if you've got a 3D printer you might be able to buy the designs and print them yourself, but since I don't have a 3D printer I didn't really look past that. Kind of hoping they were going to sell them to someone else and have someone else print them off for them, but it is what it is. For the axles, I cut up some styrene rod and I cut them up at the same length as the original axles. And obviously I'll need to trim these down a bit off camera. Next I take one of these 172 scale World War II sailors in a driving position and I cut him down to fit inside. Unfortunately it doesn't quite fit after a test fit, so I removed some of the seat on the interior piece. Once I'm happy it'll fit into place, I realise that when I attach the ammo bolt to the minigun, his view will be blocked. So off camera I reposition the gun to the side. Then I use a piece of zip tie to make the ammo belt. For a final touch, I cut a piece of C-shaped styrene to act as the feed neck for when the ammo belt disappears into the body. Here's a quick look at the assembled build before I start painting. Now for this particular build I wanted to do a cartoon style paint job, but I've never really done this before, so I did a couple of tests on some old monster truck bodies, as you can see here. The red car I painted by brush, and the blue car I painted with some cheap acrylic markers. I feel the one I painted with markers came out a lot better, so this is the method I'm going to use when I actually paint this one. First I start by laying down a coat of orange, which I do multiple coats. Next I apply a lighter orange, trying to paint in where the light would reflect, using some online images for reference. And then go over the edges of that with even a lighter orange. And then finally I use a black pen to highlight all the edges and the body panels. For the rest of the build I just did my usual tricks. Painted all the metal parts with some Revell Aquacolor Rust. Then went over the top of that with a stippling of Revell Steel or Aluminium. Skipping painting all the little details such as the interior and the driver. Here's the final build. This is my first time doing this cartoon comic book style, and I wasn't quite sure how it would work out. But I'm kind of happy with how it's turned out, though I do think there's a couple of things I could have done better. I think it might have worked a lot better if I'd done it on a bigger casting, or if I'd had some finer tipped markers. Although I did try and get some of those, they were quite expensive and I wasn't about to spend a fortune for something that I might only use once. As you'll notice, I've painted everything in my usual style, but I've left the body completely bare after the fancy paint job. This is for that nice contrast. My idea here is this is just a custom paint job that the driver's had on his car, so it still kind of blends in with the rest of my Wasteland Gaslands cars, but it's just got a fancy paint job instead of doing the whole thing like a cartoon. Otherwise I would have painted the windows and such. But it does give me the idea to do maybe a team of these bright coloured cartoon style paint job cars, though I've got a ton of ideas that I'm trying to work my way through, so it's, if I get to it, you know. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to check out the other builds that other people have done by searching Diecast Mafia Cartoon Custom Challenge. As usual, please stick around for the glamour shots and the animation that I've done, and I'll see you all in the next video.